Hello and welcome to HT's weekly talk show, The Interview, and our special segment, Life and Times with HT, wherein we go down memory lane with well-known people and explore their eventful journeys. Our guest this week is Riaz Hamidullah, High Commissioner of Bangladesh to India, a familiar territory to him and one wherein he has spent his formative years. When his father asked him to choose between India and the US, he opted for Aligarh. He has been in India through turbulent times. He has witnessed the students' agitation triggered by the Mandal Commission report, the Babri Masjid riots. He has visited Gujarat and struggled between Urdu and Hindi. As a diplomat, he has the rare quality of speaking his mind. He is someone who does not measure his words. His Excellency Riaz Hamidullah, High Commissioner of Bangladesh to India, in this edition of HT's weekly talk show, The Interview, in our special segment, Life and Times with HT. Welcome to the show, Mr. Hamidullah, and thank you for being here with us.
Very
and I'm
glad to be
dropping Your Excellency, the very
No, please.
heavy formal terminology.
Absolutely. Just call me Riaz. That's fine.
Let me begin with your connection and relationship to India. You are not a stranger to India. And as a student, you chose Aligarh over USA.
Half of my class, when I look back in the 89-90, went to North America. And my friends would tease me and say, Riaz, what about you? So my father said that, for some reason, affordability was one part of it. The other was, he said, I value heritage. So I've chosen something for you. Go and try, and you have to make it to Aligarh. So almost unknowingly, I came. I negotiated through Benapul border, Haridaspur, Bonga, coming to Kolkata, Howrah. It was quite a sort of challenge for me. And then I got into Kalka Mail. 7 o'clock, I still remember that it would leave at 7 from the Howrah platform, come down to Aligarh after 22 hours. It's like a sort of magical journey. I mean, very challenging though, coming on the second-class three-tier trains, because as you pass station by station from West Bengal to Bihar through eastern UP, the entire breadth of northern India, it was quite something. That you see the people change, people's behavior, temperament, approach, language particularly, the diction. That was something remarkable.
In fact, my next question to you was about your experience and the Kalka Mail story.
Yeah. And I still remember, we used to order for food and one of the remarkable thing I still remember, 91 possibly, winter, I was coming around 9 in the morning. I was in the upper berth. I saw a person in dhuti bringing his plate, cutting the carrot, tomato very tidily. So I got down, sat just like this, face to face, as we began a conversation. At some point, what he said to me has stayed on with me. He said, gentlemen, he was saying in Hindi, this is a country where it comes, and you might find sometimes people immaculately dressed, and you might wonder they may have maybe 30, 40 sets of dress. Actually, they have 4 to 5, but they make it in such a way. So they make more out of less. So that's something, it was something which actually stayed on with me.
Was that also the place where you were introduced to the caste system?
When I came to Aligarh, to be precise, we were in a cafeteria of the university, September 90. And the news broke that that in Delhi University campus, there are some, I think 16, 17 students who went for self-immolation. That was a word I was unknown to. And then we got our introduction to the whole caste. Progressively, we went through that SC, ST, OBCs and all that. And the whole journey of our model commission, which progressively 3 years that I was in Aligarh, in the hostel rooms and the cafeteria and elsewhere, you could see how that sowed the seeds for, may I say, social transformation in good part of India.
You said your father told you, go to Aligarh, and USA was where your friends were going. So there must have been an initial regret. When did that regret change to happiness, if I may use a word?
Regret would have come if I would have a scale to compare. In my case, unfortunately, that scale did not exist. If I would have been exposed to to North America or West, I knew that I have not have any choice. But two things about Aligarh which stayed on me, and I started valuing. One is that people, particularly about tehzeeb and adab.
Both words which you had a tough time and you struggled with them.
Oh, yes, indeed. And then what happened is one day, funnily enough, I went to a place to meet seller. So I said, "Mujhe 1 kg ghost laiye." So he looked at me, he said, and then he literally brushed off me, etc. Then 2 other people came and they said, "Adab, kaise aap?" They continued. Then they had their meat. So I was fuming literally. Then I said, "Bhai sahab, main aapko ghost ke liye kaha, wo kahan? Aapko kya chahiye? Ghost chahiye or ghost chahiye?" The diction, at the end, I was completely, taken off. I really don't know that. Look at this, the empathy, sensitivity of a meat seller, ordinary person about his own language, his mother tongue. That really taught me something.
Tell me, is that where your struggle, to quote you, with Hindi and Urdu began?
For almost a year, I would go to the stationery, to the places. It would come to my lips, but it wouldn't come out. And then I knew what I was doing. Possibly the sentence construction was also right. But it wasn't coming. One day I went to the stationery and I knew that the fellow was only speaking Urdu. And then out of disgust, I opened up and it came out. It was, I think, a bit like birth pang.
What is your situation now with both the languages?
I think I'm fine, particularly Urdu. And another interesting thing, so 2003, when I come back to Delhi, there was a doctor, a Punjabi. Somehow he reached out to me. He said, Ajit Kaur, the famous poet, we have a Urdu societies. I thought that Urdu would be associated more with Muslims or places like Lucknow and all this. Where the fact that there's a sizable Punjabi, maybe Sikhs or Hindu Punjabis who adored Urdu, may not be their lingua franca. That was something really striking.
Some other memories of Aligarh, buried deep down, which have stayed with you, which you would perhaps want erased?
Every Sunday in the Sar Syed Hall, there would be what they used to call jor. So, people would go for some conversation on theology. There was not something that it was in DNA. I would rather be in my room, take a sleep a Sunday morning. That's very precious. Now, I was pulled one day and I went there reluctantly. I was sitting in the courtyard. It was a winter. And I heard something. And the person he was what you would say, dehati, a very ordinary man. But his voice was such. Then he said something which has stayed on with me. He said, "Jazbat mehnat se aata hai, aql se nahi." That simple sentence struck me. So when everyone was dispersing, I stayed back. I really wanted to find out who is the person. And then someone pointed me and I said, "What is he?" He said, "He's a Thelawala from Bulandshahr." Just imagine. And then you may interpret that he is an ordinary man who is lecturing and everyone was listening so glued. It's that kind of thing. Equivalence would be an understatement. But that was the beauty, where you really find out that anyone could be worth.
Yeah, who you could take a lesson from.
Yes. Wisdom doesn't come with intellect or, so to say, institutional exposure.
Tell me about your different visits to India and take me through those times, through those memories.
It was Diwali time of 1991, October. We were playing football. So by 6, suddenly, something weird thought came us. We said that, what are we planning to do for this Diwali? So we all huddled, 4 or 5 of us. Suddenly we decided, we went to a biochem student and he said, you mentioned that there's a completely off-circuit place, not Mussoorie, Shimla and all that. What was it? And he said, Gangotri. I said, okay, where is it? Those days, we didn't have the Google map and everything, not even physical map. So he just told that, go out to the Aligarh bus adda, take up the train, go to Mirat, go to Haridwar, and then it will take a 12-hour thing to you. We had no idea what kind of, clothes and everything we'll have to take. So we were on a high. We rushed our rooms, borrowed money, everything. I think 500 rupees or something. We just put in pocket and got into. Fast forward, you check on records. I think exactly the peak of Diwali time in Gomukh area, the whole belt had one of the worst earthquakes in Uttarkashi. I was at that time in Bhujwasa. Bhujwasa is just 6 kilometers away, 9 kilometers from Gangotri. There's a valley. 3 in the morning, the whole valley shook. We were there. We had no idea what was the extent of the earthquake and all that. Only later we knew that the path we walked through, the trail,
have flattened.
Gone. Fast forward, we got stuck. We ran out of money. Someone lent us money, almost a godsend person. We had to walk back 62 kilometers. At some point when we ran out of money, we had to walk up to a sadhu up there in Bhujwasa. And I had to put my monkey cap on, and with a thali, we had to stand up there, and he gave us wonderful, chawal with dal and ghee. Life-saving.
You were here during the Babri Masjid demolition. And what did all that do to you? How did it change your perspective? And what was the thought process? And is it best forgotten?
Well, I would say coming from a country as Bangladesh, where frankly speaking, the characterization of majority or minority in a population, it didn't cross my mind. I mean, my first boy in the class all through for 8 years straight was a Hindu, Sanjay. But then when Babri Masjid happened, or actually a Mandal commission leading to Babri Masjid and all, I progressively kind of got introduced to the rude reality of life. The riots broke out, Aligarh Junction, very tragic, gruesome things happened. So this is for someone from other part of South Asia being exposed to that. That's quite challenging. My father somehow could send a message, no emails those days. PC would cost 20 rupees a minute. Can you imagine? Yeah, I was all by myself. So I in a hostel of 750, we were only left with 4. Absolute dead frightening. We all walked through that. So in the process, I could see the trials, tribulation, the tension, so much of debate about identity, harmony, the challenges of staying secular. At that time, I couldn't characterize. When I was in Holland, the Dutch being Dutch, they would ask me that, Ambassador, what's your goal post? I said, friendship. I said, friendship doesn't yield money. I said, it does, in the sense that if you don't have friendship with the people, if you rather go look at a person in terms of consumer or customer, that's a very mercantile approach. Mercantile approach in relation between two peoples doesn't take you long distance.
I'm going to come to your new definitions in diplomacy a little later, but before that, let me ask you, how did the Chipko movement impact you?
Very interesting. I think it was 1987. I got the German periodical, and that's where I read about the Chipko. And I think in English, it's called Hug the Tree. When I read this story, it really struck me. And that how come people can have so much of empathy for nature. It really struck me as a young person. But today, I think almost 4 decades later, the world has moved so much. There's so much of sensitivity and alertness. But those days, when we were really indifferent, that time, see how a community is standing up one after another and valuing nature.
Baba Amte, Ila Bhatt, your association and impressions.
Baba Amte is something, as I said about Chipko, again I read. I think that's the time when Illustrated Weekly of India used to come. I think Kushwan Singh was the editor, famous, and it was a very difficult size, or odd size. And that's when I first read about Baba Amte, his movement Narmada Bachao Andolan. Again, I had no idea about geography of Gujarat, Western India, but immense passion, standing up for something which again doesn't yield you money. Incredible. Less said, I can't say more, but little that, again, these have stayed on. Seva, again, Ila Bhatt, one of the remarkable Gandhians. Fast forward, when I was in Kathmandu at the SARC Secretariat, I came across her. We were handling the first ever South Asian project for women empowerment, thanks to this Seva and Ila Bhatt's work. It is these individuals who have impacted. I think what defines them is selflessness, looking beyond your own selfish interest, valuing values more than your interests. I think that's why I still remember them.
One day you said to yourself, I want to visit Rajghat. Take me through the why and how of it.
Last time when I was posted here, I would see a diminutive lady. I think that was around 2 decades back, Miss Nirmala Deshpande. And then said one of the last surviving Gandhian. I sat down, listened to her vision. She was octogenarian by that time, meaning 80 plus by that time. So soon after I come here, I tell my wife, I think one of the things, again, not to hog limelight, I just thought that, and my colleagues told, sir, Gandhiji's anniversary falls on 2nd October. We can go that time. I said, don't worry. We just went in white clothes. We just went there and just felt. I thought that in the same spirit as Chipko, Baba Amte, and Seva, the movements, I think this defines South Asia. Something called volunteerism, I think we have forgotten. South Asia, unlike many other parts of the world, was also defined by volunteerism. Will you, look beyond the hills? You think of others, actually give away.
Yeah.
So when I stood there just imagining the man, that's it. He is the father of the nation, but I thought that he was also, end of the day, a South Asian or transcends beyond South Asia, simply that. So I left my little reflections spontaneously in the book there.
As High Commissioner to India, did you go back to Aligarh?
Not yet. There are too many things on my plate. So as and when dust settles a little bit, I really do look forward to that. Last time when I took my sons, they were really toddlers. We went to the top floor of the library. There's amazing, archive of the Quranic calligraphy. Stunning. I think most people are not exposed to that. So I still want to go back and look at those treasures.
So soon, one fine morning, you will get up and say, instead of going to Rajghat, you'll say, I want to go to Aligarh.
Two are too different. Rajghat is Rajghat.
You're so familiar with India. So let me ask you, India then and India now, from Aligarh to now, so many years, its different phases and the changes, the good and the bad, if you will allow me to use the term.
Two things would pop up my mind. One is that every few kilometers, maybe 3 or 5 kilometers or miles, language changes. It's a fascinating thing. India has so many attributes. India is progressing in very many ways, but still the cultural attributes of India at the grassroots. For example, I think the best, I'm really longing to sit in a dhaba which is non-air conditioned, but I think that's gone. Wherever I go, I don't find that.
No, there are some.
I'd ask you which way to go. Real authentic truck driver's dhaba. But that's a unique thing. The other is that quite often, at least those days, the question would be asked that would India fall apart or etc. So December 31st, 1990, I was in Bombay. As I said, we were in Aligarh. We came out. ICC took us, the foreign students, for a trip. And then I picked up at the last evening of the year, I picked up the Times of India. There were 2 columns. One was by the famous ambassador cum John Kenneth Galbraith, who was the father of agricultural revolution, green revolution in India. His two last sentences are absolutely epochal, prophetic. When he was asked, what do you think in the aftermath of all the things India was going through, riot, divisions, tensions, etc. He said, quote, India is a functioning anarchy, full stop. Amidst anarchy, it will continue to prosper. Imagine that was 1990. So today we are 35 years later and we are long past that.
Your wish of eating in a dhaba, air conditioned or non-air conditioned.
Non-air conditioned.
Okay. But won't the constraints of your office somehow prohibit you from doing that?
Oh, really? I keep telling my wife, wherever I'd go.
I wish I was not High Commissioner.
You're better off. Somewhere I can go and have pani puri and all that. Not in the places like South X, some of that real place where you get the raw sense, emotion, everything, the smell maybe, the dust. That's something. I tell you, when we were driving from Fatehpur Sikri through to Agra, my father was with us. There was a winter, 2004 maybe. We stopped here and they were just preparing makai ko roti and then mooli ka saag. Trust me, I don't think I had ever had that taste. When I got into absolutely, they just were making in front of us and toasting it and giving it to us.
Nothing to beat that.
Nothing to beat that.
Not even Ilish much.
Oh, Ilish is a different story. I say that, the bonier a fish, the tastier it is. And I say that we are fishy people, maybe on both counts. So be careful.
Okay. It would be unfair if I ask you about India and not speak to you about Bangladesh. What is the situation in Bangladesh? What has changed and what are the gaps?
Well, Bangladesh, the way people know here, I think a couple of things have really come out on the surface. Three things possibly I'll flag. One is that it's quite often said, but we don't understand what does it mean, younger demography. The median age is around 28 years, meaning the most population. And the 50% of the population is around 35 or below 35 or below 37. Then, in 1972, only 1% of Bangladesh population was in urban space, meaning what you call cities. At that time, there was no metro. 2022, I was checking the figures. I was shocked. Around 40%, 40, of Bangladeshi population are in urban space. And the projection by the UN system says that that number is likely to spike to 48%, meaning half of the population by 2030. So you have a very urban, youthful demography, but then quite increasingly urban. And you may say even urban ghetto, but this is the reality. As much as they have the Bangladeshi values, but they're also global in outlook, very liberal. And the third is that their aspiration. So sometimes if the aspiration don't get fulfilled, or if they think that there are roadblocks, if they think that someone is usurping their rights, then there's quite logically outbursts. And that's exactly what we experienced exactly a year back in Bangladesh. Every year, let's say 2.5 million of Bangladeshis are entering the job market, labor market. A good part of them around 1 million are university graduates. Of that number, the 1 million plus minus, half or nearly half were actually private university graduates. They have completely different outlook. They are aspirational. Aspiration is the word, which is, it's not being stuck to a particular ideology or particular thinking. And when they saw that their rights were being taken away, as I said, usurping, that's when there was a massive upheaval, massive changeover, very bloody. Many hundreds lost their eyesight, young people particularly, in bullets. 1,400 people were documented by nations to have been killed. This brutality has led for a huge change. I would say it's essentially societal. Obviously, that has its ramification in terms of asking for politics. 11 months on, we're in that process. And we are firmly moving to a most free and fair election come early 2026. So that's where we are now.
When you say aspirational, and I ask you this both in the context of India and Bangladesh, is aspirational somewhere now got mixed up or confused with a sense of aggression?
I would not think so. I mean, why? Number one, it is absolutely right for a young person or even adult to have aspiration. Now, if you or I don't recognize that, understand that, and value that aspiration, and then try to label you, sort of disregard you, denigrate you, then it leads to violent manifestation. This labeling actually doesn't help. I think deep down, what we need to understand is what actually people want to say. Let them speak out. It's not the Western way. Unless you or I, we infringe on someone else's rights or space, he or she should be allowed hear each other, try to understand. So I would not necessarily sort of go by that qualification as aggression.
So let me put it differently. Would you find, or would you say that aspiration is somewhere, and in both countries, India and Bangladesh, spilling to the streets?
I can speak for Bangladesh only. We had that 3 times. Generations of young people couldn't exercise their franchise, and then we saw what we saw. So we are in Bangladesh going through huge debates, sometimes very, very difficult, young people questioning some of the very basics of the state, society, etc. But still, I see that it's in the fairness that they're allowed to speak out, so that you kind of let them vent out. And at some point it will come back to, it will settle down to very measured conversations, and then go for really, if that calls for some adjustment of the state structure, some of the social, political, economic institutions, let that be.
Coming to the India-Bangladesh relationship, where is it headed? And of course, the Hilsa diplomacy.
With India, we have a relationship in shared sacrifice. It's given. No way to, you cannot, it's not rewinding a cassette. But at this point of time, and also ad infinitum into the future, the relationship need to be premised on mutual trust, mutual respect, and equity and gainful sharing of benefits. That is what is coming. And I think it's absolutely possible. It's absolutely possible, from sharing of natural resources through undertaking into more serious areas, like from agriculture to culture. It's possible, energy, transport, everything. We will have to negotiate, definitely, but the negotiation doesn't mean that we'll leave the table. We be on the table, and as Dutch taught me to say that, you have to fight out your case. I think if the not fighting on the table, but if we argue, negotiate very hard, driven by mutual trust and respect, it's possible to come. Yes, I often equate with something like marriage. There's no perfect marriage in the world, but it's proportion. I mean, there may have liking of 20-30% of my partner's sort of personality and everything. But that 20-30% is equal to actually 100%, meaning that I value that so much that I override all the other, I'll not go into qualification.
Hilsa diplomacy, which was practiced so much by the former Prime Minister.
Well, Hilsa. The first thing first, Hilsa is one of the most, if not the most bonier fish. Some people run away from it. I say, if you want to go for the taste, then you have to negotiate with the Hilsa bones. Yes, the serious part of that come every monsoon, particularly the fall, meaning the September, October time, when the Bengalis would go for Durga Puja. There's a huge demand for the Hilsa from Bangladesh. I was checking the figures. My recollection is at the peak, I think 2 years back, we exported the largest quantum, which is 4,000 metric tons of Hilsa fish to India. Yet it's an unsatiable demand. On the other side, our poor people in the villages, they clamored, that please don't deprive us of Hilsa. Hilsa is a hugely emotional thing. So I said, short of breaking your heads, you can fight it out. But let's see, this will also have to be an equilibrium between demand and supply.
You also think that both nations should reimagine, and I underline the word reimagine, bilateral cooperation. You've spoken about mutual trust. Are you looking at new definitions? and changing what diplomacy stood for in the past?
Definition is not the word. I think it's not about it's there, it's possible. It's not taking it from 1.0 to 2.0 or 3.0. My take would be, let us liberate the relationship, liberate our engagements. We will have difficulties. We negotiate, as I said a little while before, but let's approach with a sense of liberation. Bangladeshis, given our manufacturing base and whatever things we manufacture, given the nature of our economy, endowments, it's not possible to come into Indian market in a big way. We continue to buy and will continue to buy rice from India. This is the nature of the relationship. So it's not a question of, defining or redefining. It's just what it is, and it will just move normally. If sometimes there's a hiccup, I would only plead to everyone that, let's not get worried and come to any qualification. It just doesn't help us.
How would you describe your posting in India? Lessons learned, lessons unlearned?
I am told by some of the very distinguished persons here in Delhi that I come possibly at a most striking period of our relations, of our history in Bangladesh, holding flag.
Striking is a polite word to use.
Well, I leave it to you. But I think I think that what is a challenge should also be converted and can be converted into opportunity. This is a time when we need to really get the two people together, because if we can, and we should, then we can go for much longer distance. So in diplomacy, I'm only expected to speak the right words, correct words. But sometimes if you really want to get to the bottom of it, it's very important that we speak up, and speak up in full candor and honesty and sincerity.
How much of home do you miss?
Home? My mother is there back home, and obviously I miss. Only thing I miss is the rain. We have, it's in English, there's an expression called cats and dogs. If you really want to understand what's cats and dogs raining, please come to the Bangladeshi Delta. But cats and dogs, you get it. Rain is something I really miss. We call it Borsha. I don't know. And in Bangla, we say Borsha Bishti. Sometimes, some people would think of mud. I say, if you don't put your thing on the mud, you would never understand nature as it is, and even the people, frankly speaking.
Your interest in craft and your fascination with Jamdani.
My tagline is that Jamdani is something that, what machines can't produce, what AI can't imagine, frankly speaking, because every Jamdani sari has a unique tale to tell. And even surprising, they just come from few villages, maybe I think 12, 13, somewhere outside in the outskirts of Dhaka. I told my wife one day, she was negotiating. I said, please don't negotiate, give the price. Because we actually can't pay the price to the craftsmen who, and weaving a Jamdani, they have a very unique language, uncodified. In the middle of that weaving, they suddenly change the thing. So a Jamdani piece may take from 7 days to 6 months, even the exquisite ones. But they put so much of their emotion, attachment, passion in weaving a Jamdani. And at the end of the day, you tell me, if something is woven in 6 months' time, can you really pay the price? We actually can't.
Your interest in poetry and Indian cinema.
Oh, I was in Mumbai early May for the first Wave Summit of so much of color, light and everything. When the time came that in presence of Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, it was announced that it's time to recognize 6 remarkable individuals in Indian cinema. And late Hrithik Ghatak was announced. I was literally in my tears, because Hrithik Ghatak may be a completely unfamiliar name to the mass here in India. Not because he was a Bengali, but he actually brought the stories in alive, in beautifully poetic language, cinema, celluloid. To me, frankly, he did more than Satyajit Roy, for example. So Indian cinema, while it strikes me some of them, I also enjoyed the Amir Khan's latest.
I was just coming to popular Indian cinema.
Yeah, popular Indian cinema, I think it's all about stories. So Tare Zameen Par, or now this latest one, why it strikes with us. Because I think it's not because of music, not because of the flash, but the storyline, not simply the dialogue. So last time, one of my very treasured memory was I caught hold of Raza Sayyid Muzaffar Ali of Umrao Jan. And he was very gracious enough to take me to his Kotwara studios. One day I spent with him. I think that's something else. You feel the pulse. You can feel the pulse. That's why I think Indian cinema is striking chords with across Asia and Latin America.
Before I let you go, let me ask you, contrary to the lessons in diplomacy, as a diplomat, you speak your mind. How often have you got into trouble?
I think quite few occasions, but I got away. It's almost like that famous movie, Catch Me If You Can. But I know that in Delhi or India, I'll quite often be caught. I have to be extra cautious. But there's been a huge turnaround in diplomacy. When we started 3 decades back, diplomacy was much about formality, representational, ceremonial aspects, and you remain there, and it's very chic life, and then you walk not the red carpet but something equivalent. I think I realized that today diplomacy is significantly about development. You have to know so many things, not simply culture but also agriculture. This is the real challenge.
What in your career have been the tough times and the never again moments?
I guess few, but tough times. One was when Easter Sunday attack happened in Colombo, April 2019. There was one young boy who lost, and suddenly I got calls and curfew was imposed. I didn't realize what to do. So my sixth sense said that go to the office. I went to the office, told the driver, can you fly the flag? He said, sir, why? The curfew is in town. So I took the car, drove down to the hotel, which went to a very bad patch. And eventually, but by late in the evening, when I could spot the boy, but by that time he has left the world. So one has to hold the emotion, but also do the duty.
Let me thank you very much. I started with addressing you by your name, and I will end with saying, Your Excellency, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And thank you for this wonderful interview.
Thank you so much.
Where you really spoke your mind.
Well, thank you.